Hi everyone and welcome to my craft room. Today we're going to do card number 3 for the Hydrangea Haven cards to go. So let's just jump right in. I'm Carol Tennant with Carol's Cards for Fun. My online store is carolscardsforfun.stampinup.net. And today we're going to do the last of our April 2021 cards to go. So we have already done this one. And look at the pretty inside, because I like to finish my insides. There's no sentiment yet because it says I appreciate all the things you do, so I'll just write something inside. If I feel like I need to put an additional sentiment in, I can later. And this one with just a nifty little fold. This just adds some little dimension and interest with some pop-ups on our hydrangea. And just for you. And I could always make that into a birthday or anything. And today we're going to do this one. So let's just set it up here. In your card kit, you're going to get, there's one I pre-stamped. You're going to get lots of little goodies. You're going to get lots. This was probably the most difficult one for me to reproduce. So you will get a Seaside Spray card base, a Highland Heather matte, a basic white for your inside, a little piece of designer paper, and then your outside you'll get all these lovely little die cuts, 3 each of the floral and 3 each of the leaves. You'll get the scrap for your sentiment, and then you'll get these two. Now these two were the hardest thing for me to reproduce, and then a piece of acetate for trim. So let me show you what I did for these two. Okay, just push these things off to the side for a minute. Okay, in order to make these the way I wanted them for my card, I actually made myself templates, and you'll see each of these have a little T on them somewhere for template. That's a T, and there's a T on this one. So what I had to do was take 2 pieces, and it's actually the same paper. I just use a different one side for the top and one side for the bottom. And I used this as my template, and I cut this for my top part. And what that gave me was 2 pieces exactly alike. So when you cut this off here, you'll turn it around and you'll have the exact same thing up at the top. So that would give me 2 top pieces. Then I had to turn it over and do this one. And this is just 1 inch from the bottom and 1 inch from the top, cut on a diagonal. So, but rather than have to measure that all the time, I just took a pencil and I made a little mark here, I made a little mark here, and then I stuck it in my paper trimmer where those little marks are, which I don't have marks right now, and lined it up and cut it on the diagonal. And I ruined a couple before I finally got it right. So that's why I made my little templates. So that's how I did those. And I liked the effect it gave. So I went ahead and kept using it. So in your card kits, what you're going to see, and I believe I've got these 2 taped together, and it is it's removable tape, and I think I've got it on the back side. I hope I do anyway, but it is removable tape, so remove it carefully and it should be fine. So we will just glue this here, oops, and this here, and then we will take this across and trim it. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, grab your favorite adhesive. It can be a tape runner, or liquid glue, whatever it is that you like the best. You don't really need a lot. And I know that I've allowed myself just a small border around, so I can go ahead and allow for that. And because this is liquid adhesive, if I don't press down too hard, it gives me a chance to decide that that's the right place. And I will now glue this side down. And they may or may not fit perfectly up. It depends on how perfect my cuts are, because these are 2 different pieces of paper that I've cut diagonal. And there is a slight little crack there, but it doesn't matter because we're going to come in with our acetate and we're going to come back to our double stick tape. This acetate is, we have been using the pink on our other card. And this is it. This is the same thing, only it is, this is the Rococo Rose, but this is the Highland Heather. But we're going to use the silver side up this time because it's pink on one side or Highland Heather, Rococo Rose on one side or Highland Heather, but it's always the silver on the other side. So just get a piece of tear and tape and put on that seam. And I'm going to let it go all the way to the edge of my card because I kind of do want those edges to be glued down real good. And then just peel that up and lay it down. And you are going to have extra hanging over it because I've given you 6 inches of this to cover your seam. So you will have it hanging over. So just grab your paper snips and just snip it off the back. And it's okay if you've got a little bit of that tape hanging off because you'll cut that off too. And that's why it's sticking to my scissors because I had a bit of tape there. Just use the paper, the card as your guide and snip it off. And there's our card front. Now you also, in your packets, you will have 3 of these little flower clusters. Now when I cut my insides, I cut these at 5 by 3 3/4, so they will fit on a 5 1/4 by 4 inch mat. What that leaves me is a whole bunch of strips of paper like this. Well, I don't want to waste these. See, look at all these that I have. So I still have a bunch to use. So one of them you get for your label, and the others, well, some of the others, obviously not all of them, I used and I stamped these images because I made a lot of these so we could have a lot of cards to go. I stamped these images with this image, and I used Gorgeous Grape for the actual floral outlines, and then I stamped with this fill-in image. Let's see where that is. It's just a pretty little textured stamp. It doesn't mean to cover the whole area, so you'll see there'll be light and darker spots, and that's part of what makes it pretty to me. And then I took a dauber with a little bit of pear pizzazz and just daubed in the middle, just to give a little bit of variation in color. And I ran it through the die cutting machine with the coordinating die. In this case, it was this one. And then for the leaves, I did very similar. I stamped the leaf outline in Mossy Meadow, and then the leaf inside with pear pizzazz. I like that extra contrast between Mossy Meadow and pear pizzazz. You could certainly go Mossy Meadow to Old Olive, but I feel like Old Olive is just a little bit darker and kind of covers up my Mossy Meadow. So I like to jump back down to the pear pizzazz. So I get more contrast between my outside lines and my inside filled area. And then I just come along and cut all those out with my leaf die. And once I stamp several of these, I just sit and die cut them. And believe it or not, I find that fun. So I hope you enjoy the card kit. So I've got several more of these you can see. But let's just put together what we do have. And I've actually already put dimensionals on the back because I know I want dimensionals on the back of all of these. And then I just kind of really have to figure out how I want them to kind of lay together. And since they're up on dimensionals already, I can just kind of lay them here like that, and then figure out where my leaves are going to go and glue them down. So I know I'm going to have a leaf kind of sticking out. Actually, I could just glue those down, but it's fine. I know I'm going to have a leaf sticking out about here. I'm going to have a leaf sticking out about here. So I may as well have a leaf sticking out up here too. You can see, it's just kind of a guessing game. I could have already, and I probably should have, just taken off my dimensionals and put them down. But all right, let's see, how does that go? There. I will do this. All I have to do is make sure I just cover up my leaf stems, huh? This, and I can definitely do that. Easy peasy. So there is our flower cluster. And the only thing we have left to do then is to put our sentiment on. So just grab the sentiment that you want to use. And I've actually chosen You Make Me Smile. And I'm going to put that on with some Mossy Meadow ink. I could have used any of them. The Gorgeous Grape, which is a darker ink, or the Mossy Meadow. The Highland Heather and the Pear Pizzazz are just a little lighter. But You Make Me Smile. I've got plenty of paper in case I make a mistake. And you know we can always use the other side. But that looks okay. I'm going to clean it with my Stampin' Chamois. Set that aside. And you know, I don't need that. I know I don't need that, and I know you don't either. So I'm just going to take my paper snips, and I'm going to cut it at a diagonal. And I know the diagonal isn't going to match the other one that I made here, but that's okay. Oh, it matches kind of close. It is better than the last one. Put the ink away because I don't need that one right now. And I'm going to use just the regular glue to stick that down. You Make Me Smile. And now I have a perfectly lovely card, but we have these beautiful pearls in our suite of products. So let's just go ahead and decorate with some of these. So each of you would have gotten some pearls. There's 3 colors. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and take some of these. And I can just put them anywhere I want. So I'm just going to put a couple on here. And I really do find it's pretty easy to just grab these with the scissors because my fingers are usually clumsy. And we have a fair amount of these pearls, so I kind of used a bunch of them. But I like them. And I hope you do too. So there's my outside. A little bit different than my other one in my placement, but that's okay. And for my inside, okay, I have my piece of white, and I have when I cut my paper to this size, I always have at the end. I always have a couple of these scraps left over, and I don't like to waste them. They're way too pretty just to throw away. So I like to keep them, and I sometimes use them for the insides of my cards. And I know I'm going to put this about here, so I'm going to grab this floral image and my Gorgeous Grape. And it doesn't really matter where, as long as it's somewhere close to the bottom, it doesn't really matter where. And you can use any stamp you have. In fact, you don't even need to use a stamp, but I'm just going to stamp that there, just so it's going to peek up over. Clean it with my Stampin' Chamois and close my ink pad so I don't get into it. But I'm going to glue this on here now. I have this paper and I don't want to waste it. It's just too pretty. So I'll just let those peek up out of it. And that is wet glue, so I can slide it till I get it where I want. I will lay my mat down. And you see, you don't need a lot of the liquid glue. It will stay. I just try to make sure I get the edges done. If you get the edges done, then it won't be curling up on the edges. And then a little tiny bit in the middle. And there we go. And that is the last of our April 2021 cards to go with the Hydrangea Haven suite. So we have done this one. We have done this one with the pretty little fold. And finally, this one. So that is all three of the April 2021 cards to go with the Hydrangea Haven suite, which includes this bundle of stamps and dies, as well as the designer series paper, the acetate, the pretty pearls, and they come in 3 colors. Here's some of the pink ones as well. And what did I say? Oh, and it does also include ribbon, but I actually didn't use the ribbon on these particular cards for the April cards to go. You'll get in your kits, you will get 2 each of these 3 designs, so that's 6 cards. So if you're interested, please let me know. And I hope you've enjoyed these cards for April. So thanks for joining me with April's cards to go. Don't forget that this is the last month of the current annual catalog, and there are a lot of items retiring. So check that retiring list. You can log into the online store, Carol's Cards for Fun.stampinup.net, and there will be a link for last chance items or retiring items. Take a look at the clearance rack too. There might be some things that you're really like there too for really good prices. So I'll put the links in the blogs, but take a look at the retiring list and see if there's anything out of the current catalog that you've missed that you wanted. But you will also soon be receiving a new annual catalog. I have sent several people new annual catalogs. The sales period for those begins May 4th. So if you have any questions or any concerns, please let me know. And I will certainly next month be showing you some of the new products. So talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.